On Sunday, we began with the words from Matthew's Gospel. Jesus said, "When you pray, go into your inner room, shut your door, and pray to your Father who is unseen. And your Father who sees what is done in secret will reward you." We spent a lot of the session considering in depth the two triplets of petitions that begin the Lord's Prayer. I guess it's a shame that for most of us we associate the Lord's Prayer in a communal setting, in school, church, and so on. But really, Jesus was giving this as an example of individual personal prayer. In a way, common usage has caused it to be hijacked by society, and in this session I just want to explore personal prayer in a bit more detail with you. If you look on the internet, as usual, you're swamped with thousands of different ideas. 25 ways to pray, 10 tips to refresh your prayer life, and so on and so forth. But Jesus' advice was, pray in your inner room, not on the internet. And ironically, main church services can be the worst place for private prayer. They're fantastic for praying with others, but not so good for personal prayer. The liturgy relentlessly pushes us on to the next thing, and someone leading intercessions can blank out your thoughts and your desires for some quiet time to make your own personal prayers. And if you're doing a reading or you're a church warden, your mind is full of what comes next and what comes after that. And then, of course, to cap it all, if you've brought children or grandchildren to church, wow, that's another ball game altogether. That's an added weight on your shoulders. So yes, obviously pray in church, but real communion with God may need a subtly different approach and a different time. And I'm not saying lock yourself away somewhere for hours. That really does mark you down as a weirdo or even a sado. There's a danger in overlong prayer, so shutting yourself away for hours. There's no positive correlation between length of prayer and devotion. And neither do we need to keep nagging away at God, plaguing him. Jesus tells us that the God to whom we pray is a God of love. He's always ready to answer. We don't need to use the cracked record approach over and over again. In fact, once I heard a speaker say, actually, you only need to make every prayer once. God isn't simple. God isn't foreign. God isn't deaf. He always hears us first time round. And if we believe in a God who is omniscient and omnipresent and caring and who loves us, we have to accept that idea and not try bargaining or badgering. Well, I've just started off on a really negative note, what to beware of. But let's be positive. As our faith is positive, what can we do to freshen up our prayer life? Over the years, some have found, like the Jews, that having a set time for prayer helps to establish a rhythm in our lives. The rhythm can include time for prayer, time for our loved ones, hopefully a lot of time for friends and acquaintances, time for work and time to help others, and of course time to relax, though maybe not all on the same day. The picture shows a typical layout for medieval prayer times in a monastery, and I'm not suggesting that you follow that, but just taking some of those parts can actually give us a bit of a structure to build prayer around. Maybe you can't get to a church to pray during the week. Maybe you can't get to a church even to pray prime in the early morning, or morning prayer, or compline in the evening. But there's a saying, and the saying is this. It's a Jewish saying: pray in the synagogue. If you cannot, pray in the fields. If you cannot, pray in your house. If you cannot, pray in your room. If you cannot, pray on your bed and commune with your own heart. And after all, other faiths can prioritize regular short times for prayer. What's so different about us? Why shouldn't we be able to do the same? Despite what I said about the busyness and excitement of main services pushing quiet prayer time to one side, there's no doubt that praying in a church can have something special. You sit quietly, surrounded by stones steeped in thousands of prayers, prayed over hundreds of years by hundreds of people. Prayer is in the very air that you're breathing. It's in the very air of this building, hanging there like incense every second of every minute, of every hour, of every year, not just of our lives, but in everybody's life who goes in their church. During Holy Week, I'm aiming to have some prayer time every morning at 9 a.m. here in our own church. I'm just going to spend 10 minutes or so saying the short service of prime. It's an ancient said order. It can take 10 minutes or it can take 20 or 30 minutes. There's no distractions, no rush, no busyness, nothing else to do but relax in God's presence and be yourself. If anybody wants to join me, they're more than welcome. You know, there's something about having a set order of prayer that you can let wash over you. Tomorrow we celebrate the life and death of Thomas Cranmer, the originator of what we now call the Book of Common Prayer. And although I'm a modern kind of guy, I find there's something about Cranmer's words, ancient though they are, and phrases in the Book of Common Prayer and the Order of Prime that somehow bring God closer. They make it special. Of course, that's just my feeling. You have to find what suits you, and it can change over the years. It can change almost by the day. There's a sister service to prime in the evening called compline, another said service. There are little books guiding you through the day, and I recently came across a book of Celtic prayers produced by the Northumbrian community. We used one in our Sunday service. There are short prayers for the morning, short prayers for the midday, evening and night time, and they change each day. I got the Kindle version, so it's always available there on my phone, and it even has music to accompany some of the parts of the very, very short services in there. And of course, music can also inspire and nourish our spiritual side and prepare us for prayer. I'm not talking about Wagner or Bruckner pounding at our emotions. I'm talking about the music that washes through us and over us and gives us peace for our prayer time. Some of the Taizé music can do it, but so can Samuel Barber. But maybe you can't get to a church to pray, prime or morning prayer, or just sit in the quiet. Remember that saying. Pray in the synagogue if you cannot. Pray in the fields if you cannot. Pray in your house if you cannot. Pray in your room if you cannot. Pray on your bed and commune with your own heart. This is an Anglican rosary. The Catholics have used rosaries for many, many years, and 2 or 3 decades ago, an Anglican priest saw that there could be value in something like a rosary or prayer beads for some people. And this is an example of an Anglican rosary. It has 4 cruciform beads, and there are 7 beads between each cruciform bead. That's a bead for every day of the week. This particular one has a cross and an invitatory bead. And you just use short prayers when you use it. And the prayers you use are completely personal to you. There's no official way of using this. "O Lord, open my lips" could be one of the prayers on one of the beads. Those lovely words from Compline, "Keep me as the apple of an eye," could be another. "Hide me under the shadow of thy wings" are also examples. It suits some people, other people don't find it helpful. As I record this, the day we remember Thomas Cranmer, mentioned earlier, is close at hand. Like so many, he fell out of favour with Henry VIII, and he was taken and tortured until he recanted, and then he was burned at the stake. But Thomas Cranmer's legacy of prayer lives on, even to this day. I can commend it to you.